like to go ahead and call this meeting of the Sutter Butte Flood Control Agency on May 14th to order. If we have roll call, please.
Carm Baines.
Present.
Bruce Johnson.
Here.
Bill Conley.
Here.
Todd Kimmelshoe. Here. Bo Shepherd. Here. Mark Boomgarden.
Here.
Charlie Hoppin. Here. Gary Marler. Here. Jeremy Chapdelaine.
Here.
Mike Morris.
Here.
Chris Schmidl.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mr. Carm Baines. All right, public comment. Members of the public will be allowed to address the Sutter Butte Flood Control Agency's Board of Directors on items of interest to the public that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. Any member of the audience who may wish to bring a matter before the board that has not been placed on the agenda may do so at this time. However, state law provides that no action may be taken on any item not appearing on the posted agenda. Do we have anyone from the public that wishes to address the board? Seeing none. All right, consent calendar. I'm trying to do this in Kimmelshoe time. The consent calendar groups together those items which are considered non-controversial or for which prior policy direction has been given to staff and that require only routine action by the board. The chair will advise the audience that the matters may be adopted in total by one motion. However, the board may, at its option or upon request of a member of the public, consider any matter separately. Do we have any requests from the public? Seeing or hearing none.
The chair.
Yes.
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Director Baines, second by Director Kimmelshoe. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the consent calendar is passed unanimously. Information and possible approval items. Items number 3, preliminary approval of a proposed amended 2023-28 budget.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to open it up and then I'm going to turn it over to Sean. So Sean's going to present the proposed amended budget for years 2023 through 2028. And this budget trues up past expenses and projects out future revenues and expenses. This budget factors in the favorable bid results from the Tudor Flood Risk Reduction Project, which we just recently awarded a contract for. It also takes into account new revenue source from SJAFCA, which will be starting next June in 2026. And it includes how staff projects projects being administered over the next 4 years. So with that said, essentially the bottom line, as Sean will get through it, is the agency has a very healthy budget to advance our strategic plan. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Sean to present the details.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just to go over the process of what will be presented today, we'll go over the purpose of the budget amendments as compared to last year's approved budget, which is currently active, an overview of expenditures and revenues and the differences between the 2 years, an overview of ongoing work through 2028, and we'll talk about staff recommendations and next steps after this presentation. And of course, we'll have questions and comments. So it is a two-part process. Today, proposed amendment, amended 23-28 budget, presented for preliminary approval to set a public hearing for June 11th. June 11th will be the finalized version. Conduct a public hearing, provide public comment, and consider approval then. So the 23-28 budget includes 23-24 actuals, as Michael had said, and 24 through 28 projected costs and or projected financials. Both are presented together with last year's approved budget to show differences and changes between the two budgets. We'll approve the 23-28 budget, actuals and projected costs. So there is some, just at a very high level, what you'll notice is the first column here is last year's approved budget. And then the second column is our proposed amended budget, starting with the beginning working capital, factoring revenues, expenditures, debt service payments, and then left with an ending working capital. The biggest differences at this very high level, you'll notice the $13.3 million for revenues, difference in revenues between the two budgets, and about $21.4 million difference in expenditures. The debt service roughly remain the same. You'll notice some difference. That's primarily due to accruals. So starting with expenditures, probably the biggest differences really to highlight are the Tudor flood risk reduction project. You'll notice last year's proposed factored in both the construction and design phases. Going forward, though, since construction had been implemented, look at a decrease of about $4 million. Sutter Bypass is another one. You notice a big difference where the construction phase, a difference of about, what I have there, about a little over 20 million. But that difference is primarily due to construction and implementation being extended beyond 2028, outside the purview of what we're considering today. Sediment removal dropped about 2 million. That was due to limitations on the grant application and what we could solicit for. With revenues too, revenues match those changes on those particular projects. You'll notice a decrease with sediment removal. That $2 million went from 12 million to 10 million. And for the bypass, you'll notice that $20 million that we had initially were projecting for construction phase. We're trying to find other sources of funding, but that'll be most likely beyond 2028. So total expenditures, the net decrease of 21.2 million. Total revenues saw a net decrease of 13.3 million. But changes in the capital fund project, just like I had pointed out, it's primarily due to Tudor flood risk reduction and coming up with low bids on that. And then the bypass extended beyond 2028, along with some increased funding, through OWA. Considering our operating fund, so there was a focus a number of years ago, and the budget, last year's budget reflected it. But with the end of EIP, which falls under our capital fund, most of the administrative costs were going to be shifted over to the operations fund. Now that operating fund has been slowly built up over time in anticipation of that shift. We were initially sort of thinking that EIP was going to end this year. It was extended out a little bit due to real estate issues. And there's very little work remaining on it, and we think the clear cut will really come with 24-25 or even 25-26. And these figures here sort of reflect that. You'll notice the actuals from 23-24 were 368,000. We had initially budgeted 1.2 million for 23-24. But over time, there's also a shift in the revenue stream coming into that the operating fund is receiving. We're no longer relying on assessments for padding the operating fund. It's going to be credit payments received from SJAFCA, which will begin June of next year. So just to highlight some things going forward, the FERLIP, the be closeout on EIP will primarily be finalized. There'll be some continuation with ULOP going forward for the next 2 or 3 years after the current year. Tutor flood risk reduction, as you know, construction is underway with that. Bypass, implementation work, extended beyond 2028 for construction. Core, some of the core project issues. The core project itself has been basically, it's more or less being finalized this current fiscal year. Sediment removal, there'll be a whole nother phase of implementation occurring, beginning in the coming years. Regional planning, compared to last year's budget, we are also including a sixth round, and we're projecting about $300,000 there. So there was so there's an increase of about $300,000 on the total budget there due to inclusion of round 6. Financing authority, we're receiving reimbursements, going forward for the next 19 years or so, or 15 years, 15 years, forgive me. Then OWA, post-project monitoring obligations, there'll be construction with Robinson's Riffle that we also project in 26, 27, and then 27, 28. And then just ongoing administrative work, handling debt management, and development impact fees, and other administrative activities. So the recommendation then is to preliminarily approve the proposed amended 23-28 budget, schedule a notice of public hearing for June 11th. A draft notice was provided in the board packet, and make a proposed amended 23-28 budget available for public review. And so I could open up for questions before turning it over to the chair.
So I do have a question.
Sure.
I can't speak for the rest of the board, but to me, it would be helpful. You had the previous year's budget and the proposed budget, but preceding the previous year's budget, it would be helpful to me if there was a reconciliation of what was actually spent as opposed to what we approved a year ago, pluses or minus, and a brief explanation of why it was one way or another.
Okay, so
I don't know how everybody else feels about it, but, a budget's one thing. I get one from my wife every once in a while, and it never seems to follow exactly what was presented to me.
So you're saying budget, actual, and proposed?
Yeah. Previous year's proposed versus what we actually spent.
like going back like a number of years, or
No,
just for 23, 24?
last year we had a proposed 24 budget. This year we've got a proposed 25 budget.
Mhm.
In the column next to the proposed 24 budget, I wouldn't think it would be ungodly difficult, it is, correct me, to have what we actually expended as compared to what was proposed.
Right. So the yeah. So the audit does provide that, but we can present it that way too, taking it from the audit and propose. No, I don't think so. Yeah. Yeah.
To me, it would be valuable information.
Sure. Yeah. Like an additional column just to show.
Yeah, a column to show what we actually spent
Sure.
and as we proposed the previous year.
Yeah. We do see that. But Seth was saying, we have that information readily available. We don't include it in the.
We hide that information.
We hid that column when we prepared these tables.
Yeah. But certainly, I think for the finalized version in June, there'll be another packet presented to you guys. We'll include that. I think that's a good idea. No. It's not difficult at all. Not difficult at all.
So Sean, the packet does have some of the actuals information in there.
It
but-
does. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're saying there's some columns maybe that we could expose the
23
next
for
time around.
23, 24, we have actuals.
Yeah.
But to also include what was initially approved last year.
Right.
For that year.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's a terrific idea. Yeah. Any other questions?
Seeing no other questions. All right.
Just real quick, did, you move it, sorry, no, but could you add Charlie's, the recommendation or suggestion to it?
Chris? Huh? Yes. Yes. I'm making the motion to approve this and add Charlie's recommendation. Thank you.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, have a motion and a second on item number 3, the preliminary approval of the proposed amended 2023-28 budget. Roll call, please.
Mike Sigenmeyer. Yes. Carm Baines.
Aye.
Bruce Johnson.
Yes.
Bill Conley.
Aye.
Todd Kimmelshoe. Bo Shepherd. Mark Boomgarden.
Aye.
Dave Shaw.
Aye.
Charlie Hoppin. Gary Marler. Jeremy Chapdelaine.
Yes.
Mike Morris.
Aye.
Chris Schmittel.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, item number 3 passes unanimously. Item number 4, presentation, file the monthly financial report. Sean? Unless Mike wants to go first.
No, I'll turn this one over to Sean.
Thanks. So monthly financials presented today just cover all financials through end of March 2025. Our working capital was about 23.8 million, the ending working capital specifically. Estimated to date about 28.7 million. That constitutes both our operating revenue. We had received 750,000 to date for our operating fund or operations fund. And then the capital revenue in assessments, 5.78 million. Actually, not just assessments, excuse me. But in total for capital revenue, we've received about 5.8 million with an expectation of about 11.6 million to date. That difference between expected and what we had actually received to date, that 5.8 million is further broken down here. You'll notice on the table off to the left here, our pending capital payments are about 3.7 million, and our pending assessment revenue, the next round of assessments we should receive sometime in June, I believe, about 2.1 million. And then the 3.6 million is further broken down here on the right-hand side, where it's just all the various projects and what's currently pending in payments that we have yet to receive. The paid expenditures through the end of March were about 4.4 million. Estimated expenditures to date about 4.9 million. Total pending expenditures then about 500,000. It's actually a little bit more, about 580,000. Our next debt service payment will be in October. We're always on top of that, and I think it's usually now with U.S. Bank having taken over, we receive those invoices for payment extremely early. So typically, we probably wind up paying it very early in September. So some of the financial activities then just we're in the midst right now of putting together a number of reimbursement packages with the state, and we'll probably get most of those out within the next week or two. Closeout for round 4 on RFMP is underway, as is our CDFW grant for veg planning. That's all. We're no longer charging to it, and we're trying to finalize closeout right now with the agency. And then, just processing payments and receivables as they come in. And then for June, it would be a final budget to be presented. And then also operations contracts for administrators will also be presented. That's it. I can open up for questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Item number 5, presentation and file program project updates, Mr. Michael Bissett.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Obviously, all these projects roll right into the budget that was just preliminarily approved. So we're going to highlight some of the activity of the agency here. So Feather River West Levee Project 2, which is our Tudor flood risk reduction project. So we are underway. We're in construction. We've been having several weekly contractor meetings now. We get a lot of submittals happening, being provided by the contractor, reviewed by our design team. Our contractor has mobilized this week. They're setting up their trailers out on Sacramento Avenue near the bypass. They rented a property there from the property owner. And that's where we'll have our construction manager's trailer out there as well as the contractor. That's where we'll have our weekly meetings going forward. Contractors starting to do levee mowing. They're doing their surveys of the levee. A lot of preliminary work is happening, and they're going to start levee degrade possibly end of this week or definitely early next week. So we are in full construction mode now, so it's a great thing. We have our groundbreaking ceremony set for May the 28th at 10 a.m., and we provided a flyer for everybody. It should be at your spot there at the dais. So we're communicating out now. We're getting our invitations. Assemblyman Gallagher is going to be a speaker. We're hoping to get Congressman LaMalfa. I'm communicating with his team. We're going to have folks from the state, Central Valley Board and DWR, and the Army Corps. They'll all be speakers at our event, of course, along with our Mr. Chairman. So we invite all members of the board to be there, and we'll invite members of the press. So we'll make a big deal of this last initial project, or last final project of the Feather River West Levee project as a whole. So very exciting. We're still looking at a 2-year construction season, although Chris and I just got an email right before the start of this meeting that our contractor wants to talk about possibly doing everything this year. So we're going to talk about that and see if that'll make sense for both sides. Next slide, please. On Sutter Bypass East Levee repair, our consultant just delivered the 90% design package. So that's under internal review, and we'll get that out to our independent panel of experts and the state for review by the end of this month. We're also advancing all the environmental work and our 408 package to the Army Corps to get that approval in place. We're also working very closely. I've communicated in the past to the board that the FEMA brick grant that we were in line for has since been canceled. So nationally, that brick program has been eliminated. So we're working closely with Cal OES and DWR to apply for a new FEMA grant. Well, it's not new, but it's a different FEMA grant. It's called the HMGP, Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. And we'll be submitting under that program and hoping, and we're working closely with Congressman LaMalfa's team to get funded by FEMA through that grant process. So more to come on that. So we're just pivoting now, and we'll be submitting that in the near future. We're also closely working with Calpine on their project and how it relates to our levee improvement project and possible additional funding for our program. So all of that is ongoing. I wanted to note there is a letter at the dais for all our board members from Congressman Garamendi. We just received this today, and it was a letter. It's addressed to this board, and it talks about his support for our FEMA brick grant, or getting a grant through FEMA for this project. A little bit contentious in terms of Democrat, Republican. I did get some insight from Congressman LaMalfa's team, chief of staff, this morning about the letter, and there's always there's two sides to every story. But from what I heard from Congressman LaMalfa's chief of staff, that bill amendment that is referenced in the letter would not have provided direct funding to our project. So there's more to the story, but we do appreciate Congressman Garamendi's support for our program. On City of Orville levee repair project, so we had a good 2-day Army Corps levee safety inspection that was held last week on the 7th and 8th. Our team participated along with city staff and Department of Water Resources staff, and obviously the Army Corps and their consultants. So we feel it was a very good 2-day process. It's going to culminate in a report that we should receive within 75 days, a draft report. So when we get that, I'll be able to provide a little bit more detail to the board, the results of that inspection. But it was basically a lot of summary of the information that we provided to the Army Corps, along with their boots on the ground inspection and in-office analyses. So it'll be interesting to see what we get back from the Corps. But it was very positive, and hopefully it'll lead to something positive in the future. Also looking, continuing to pursue state funding for that levee improvement project. The federal project, we heard just recently that our project partnership agreement amendment is now with the ASA's office, Assistant Secretary of the Army. So that's for final sign-off approval. As soon as that happens, it'll be able to go to the Central Valley Board for final processing, and ours, along with SJAFCA's, will go at the same time. So that it memorializes our credit transfer, and then we're finalizing our credit transfer agreement with SJAFCA. So all of that will take place, and we'll look to receive our first payment next year in June. We also are working closely with the Corps on operation and maintenance manual updates. The Corps is in the process of, updating some manuals right now based on their federal project, the 5 Mile project, and some of the PL 8499 work that has been completed. And we're gonna add some information into those operation and manual updates. So we had a really positive meeting yesterday with the Corps, and we're working with LD1's engineer on that to ensure that all of the work that we've done in the past, like the public safety or the access control projects, the relief well modifications, those type of works that have been completed will get memorialized in these manual updates. Next slide, please. We're also advancing our OWA Robinson's Riffle project. We've having meetings with CDFW on the design plans. We've applied for construction funding grants. So all of that work is advancing. Looking, hopefully if we're successful in finding construction funding, we could be ready within the next couple of years to build at least the first phase of the work that we would like to do up in the OWA area. We're also advancing the Thermalito Afterbay boat ramp and campground project. We're essentially at 100% design, but we're waiting on review comments and finalizing review comments from the state engineering departments. And then we got to get some fire marshal and state architect reviews completed. So all of that will result in bid documents ready this fall to allow us to go out to bid so late this year, with the hope of being in construction in 2026. They're also advancing the FEMA remapping process of Sutter County. I just saw a recent email from the FEMA's consultant. So Chris and his team will be addressing comments just received, continuing the process of looking to incorporate all of our levee improvements into the FEMA's remapping in the entire Sutter County. We're also, we're part of the Feather River Side Channel project, so we're a team member there. We'll be reviewing concept proposals and design proposals as they come out. So that process is pretty much just started, but it is rapidly advancing. So I might be able to present something, Chris or I, in the next couple of months to provide the board with some concepts of what is being proposed under that program. And then lastly, on this slide is the recent Cap to Cap trip that just returned last week. I brought back a little bit of a cough with me, and I think a lot of other attendees did as well, unfortunately. But I participated in quite a few meetings related to the National Flood Insurance Program. Our attorney, Scott Shapiro, and I attended 4 or 5 meetings to advance discussions about when and if the National Flood Insurance Program gets reauthorized. We've proposed language changes to go into that reauthorization, which would help agricultural lands and provide relief to farmers through that process. So we had a lot of good discussions. We met with the Farm Bureau, the House Financial Minority, Senate Financial Majority and Minority on that topic. We also had a separate meeting with the Army Corps to talk about 408 program. And one of the interesting things we learned from the Army Corps is, as we're hearing about all federal institutions and agencies now, there's a lot of turnover and layoffs, but the Corps is actually getting a lot of early retirements, people taking advantage of that offer. So headquarters is down 30% staff is what we just learned. So, and the same thing here in the district in Sacramento, their staffing has taken a hit about 30% also. So fewer people to try to do the same amount of work. So we're very mindful of that as we deal with our federal partners to advance all our projects. Next slide, please. We will roll into closed session after I'm completed here. I just wanted to remind the board that we do have the closed session. Our next meeting is in June. As Sean talked about, the main topic will be the adoption of our budget. So that'll be good for next month. And I also wanted to let the board know we're working with the Army Corps on the water control manual update process for the Orville Dam and New Bullets Bar Dam. We're going to have their project manager come before our board and give a presentation on that process, and that'll happen in August. So I just scheduled that yesterday. So August 13th at our board meeting, we'll have a member, the project manager from the Army Corps, who's responsible for delivering those water control manual updates. So with that said, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back to you to see if there's any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the directors? Seeing none, thank you for the report. The next item is item number 6, which is our closed session, public employee performance evaluation of the executive director. So we will go into closed session. Sutter Butte's Flood Control Authority. And could council please report out on the closed session?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pursuant to the agenda item, the board discussed the performance of their executive director and provided a series of comments to me that I will meet with Mr. Bissett separately and share with him for the massive numbers of public that are in the room. The comments are positive, and I'll be sharing those with Mr. Bissett. There was no reportable action other than me receiving that feedback to share with Mr. Bissett.
All right, thank you, Mr. Shapiro. Entertain any motions from the board.
So I'll move to approve the merit of 1.63 in addition to the COLA for a total of $249,706 for Michael Bissett's contract.
And so just for the record, that would be a total increase of 4%.
Correct, 4% increase.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mike Sigenmeyer,
Yes.
Harm Baines,
Aye.
Bruce Johnson,
Yes.
Bill Conley,
Aye.
Todd Kimmelshoe,
Aye.
Bo Shepherd,
Aye.
Mark Boomgarden,
Aye.
Dave Shaw,
Aye.
Charlie Hoppen. Gary Marlar. Jeremy Chapdelaine.
Yes.
Mike Morris.
Aye.
Chris Schmittel.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, motion passes. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Bissett, thank you for what you do. I'm sure you're going to hear the comments from Mr. Shapiro, but the board is very thankful for your past efforts and looking forward to your continued efforts.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the board. Appreciate it.
Any comments, questions, concerns of the board? Hearing none, this meeting stands adjourned.